I formally am diagnosed with obsessive compulsive disorder. As you might imagine, I wasn't very nice. I was very arrogant.
Think you were at 20 to 30 million in sales a year or in revenue, plus 30 to 40 employees. You have
Yeah.
your own building now that you recently purchased.
They took the decision away from me and they fired me in June of 2018. I was super fit. I was rich. I said, I don't care a crap what you want. I'm doing this for me, not for you. You follow your opportunity and you develop your passion.
Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of Pan the Organizer. So I'm blessed to have a special guest in. You probably know him already, but Matt Moreman from Obsessed Garage. Matt, thanks for being on the show. How are you?
Glad to have me, or glad to be here. I just hosted you, so I'm having to switch roles from host to guest.
Yes. Yeah, we
Sorry
just
about that,
did
everybody.
a video. Go check it out on his channel, Obsessed Garage on YouTube. We went through his whole master series collection of the detailing packages that he has, and I gave him my opinions on perhaps some chemicals that he should switch or at least try and see if they can replace what currently exists. So that was a fun talk. But what I have Matt here today to do is to have a discussion. I want to inspire people out there, young entrepreneurs or older entrepreneurs as well, who are perhaps looking into creating their own business. So if you don't know Matt, go check out, of course, his YouTube channel. He has Obsessed Garage, so he's the owner and CEO of a, let's say, a curating place for everything related to car detailing products, tools, and equipment. Correct me if I'm wrong, Matt. But he's curated a bunch of things through the years, but that doesn't happen overnight. And I want him to share his story, basically how it started. Because I remember, Matt, before I started my channel in 2016, he was there since in 2014. I saw your first videos,
Yep.
and he was the first guy that I had seen using these crazy pressure washer setups and thinking about the quick connects and the foam cannons and things that we weren't thinking. It seems simple today because we have all of them now, but he was kind of the originators of figuring these things out, how you can bring more sophisticated tools and equipment into the detailing scene. And well, of course, became obsessed with it. But so, Matt, I'm going to share your story with my viewers. If you want to kind of start us out at the beginning, because you were from the finance world. So you were a financial, not financial advisor, but more of a wealth management type job. So what were you doing and how did this translate into starting Obsessed Garage as we know it today?
So my background, I have a bachelor's in electrical engineering, so that kind of sets us up for the type of thinking, how I think about things. I tend to approach things from a mathematical and analytical perspective, much like you, right? So the background being engineering, I had gotten a job at Merrill Lynch. And so the pathway for me to get there was I was selling high-end home theater in college. So I'd actually flunked a course because I was more interested in playing volleyball and working out and trying to meet girls than I was in engineering. And in high school, I didn't have to study. I just showed up and got A's, got 90s, 95s, hundreds, easy. But college was a whole lot harder, and so I flunked a course. I had to get a job at school because I had to stay school for the summer to stay on track. And so I got a job selling high-end home theater. Love that stuff. That's something we share, right? So I was obsessed with home theater. I went from making like $9 an hour at the post office delivering mail to making $75,000 selling TVs and car stereo stuff. And I moved to Florida when I graduated college. I moved from Pennsylvania to Florida, and I was selling home theater there. I'd worked my way up to be one of the top salespeople. I was making, I don't know, like 100 grand in 2003, and a guy came in my store who worked for Merrill Lynch. His name was Jim Heaton. He became my first major mentor in my life, and he convinced me that I should come and consider working with him because this concept of I was taking a really complicated thing, which was HD TV and 5.1 surround sound or 7.1 surround sound, and then talking to the person and figuring out what their needs were and then distilling the product choice subset down to what was best for them. And he said, look, that's exactly what I do. I look for the best grouping of investments based on who they are and what their goals are. So it's a very similar thing. The only difference is you're in this store and people walk in the door. They walk in the door and they then, if you do a good job, you can maximize the sale. Well, when you go into wealth management, there's nobody walking in the door. In fact, there is no door. And
Yeah.
so it becomes a little bit more complicated, and you have to create something out of nothing. So they give you a desk, a phone, a Hill Donnelly Street directory, which was basically a business type phone book that had all the phone numbers, and they said, figure it out.
Cold
Uh,
calls.
Whereas in retail, you just try to do the best job of people walking in the door, but I had to figure out a way to get people, and cold calling was the avenue. And so I had built a business by being an engineer in a world of financial people. And so what I did is I sat down and said, what would be the most efficient way to meet the most amount of people in as quick a way as possible? I don't know anybody with money. I was 24 years old. I had a straight hairline. It looked like I was 12. I didn't look the part. But I was smart. I was young and smart and educated. And so I knew I can sell because I learned how to sell home theater. And so I wrote a script based on my mentor and I sat down. We wrote a script, and the script went something like this. I would dial the phone. So I'd come in the morning. I'd scrub the names on the do not call list. So remember, this is 2004,
Yeah.
right? Now forget it. Nobody even has a home phone. So I'm calling home phones in a retiree specific area, and I would scrub it. So I learned how to type the number keypad so I could just look and I could go through 1,000 numbers in like 20 or 30 minutes. And so I could scrub all those, and then I'd have a list of people to call. I would put Netflix on my computer. So this is when we're getting the discs. Remember, I'd have the discs. So I'd get movies. I'd have a movie playing on my laptop. I'd have the phone ready. I'd have my call script in front of me. I'd have a listing. So I'd have the phone numbers, call script, and then I would have a thing where I'd write down what they told me after the call. And so I'd start the movie. I'd have my finger on the space bar. I'd type the number on the phone, and then it would ring, 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 ring. They'd pick up, hang up, type the next number, finger still on the space bar. As soon as somebody picked up, I hit the space bar to stop the movie. I'd look at the script and I would deliver the script. And I would say, hey, this is Matt Moreman. We just moved here to the area. I work for Merrill Lynch. That's where my office is. What I'm doing today is I'm putting together a retirement newsletter where I send out things that I think you might find interesting pertaining to retirement and investing. Is that something you would consider getting? Look, there's no cost or obligation. I'm hand addressing this information to you, so I'm not going to spam you with a bunch of junk. Could I put you on the list? Yes, no, F you. I only think I
Yeah.
got a couple of FUs. And so then they'd say, yeah, that's no problem. I said, if you don't mind me asking, is there anything specific you're really interested in currently that maybe I could send you some specific information on? And so I was just looking for that small yes. Yes, I'll be on the list. Yes, here's some information. I'd write that down on my tick sheet. I'd make ticks of how many calls I made. The
You
first
had a
year,
system. Yeah.
yeah, the first year I made 10,000 dials. Of those 10,000 dials, I think I had like 2,000 people pick up the phone. Of those 2,000 people that picked up the phone, 40%, so roughly 40%, 800 people said, yes, I'll be on your list. Of those 800 people, I had 100 of them come to a different seminar, and I'd gotten 22 clients. So my penetration rate per call was 0.22%. And I built the business doing that.
That's
And
insane.
eventually I hired some people to cold call for me so I could do it at scale.
Yeah.
And so I built a business from zero to several $100 million. Plus, my partner had retired, and so I inherited some assets and stuff like that. But the reason why he had decided to bring me on as a partner is because I did the dialing. I did what I said I was going to do. By the way, it sounds easy, but I'm
Yeah.
shaking every day for 7 years, scared to death. Every day I don't want to call. By the way, my goal was to make 400 dials a day. I only made on average 200 dials a day out of fear, avoidance, planning to call. I'd be like, you know what? Today I'm going to study this thing instead of calling because that'll make me better prepared. And so if I had made the 400 dials, I would have been twice as successful. I would have had 44 clients, not 22 clients in the first
Yeah.
year.
Yeah.
And I would have graduated the program and doubled as how much money I made. But it's hard. 90% of the people who go into that business fail because of that. And now
Absolutely.
today, Today, you can't even do the cold calling stuff. So what are you going to do? You got to go out and engage people some form or fashion. So that was the
Absolutely.
wealth management business story. I built a pretty sizable practice, and of course, I was really good at the money management side of things. I was really interested in that. The problem with that gig is that just like selling home theater, you can love the product, but the product doesn't make a business. The love of the product doesn't make a business. The business is your relationship with the customer. You know what I'm saying? So if you don't have, like in your case, your audience, is the customer.
Yeah,
If you don't have an audience, you could love detailing all you want, but if you don't have anybody that's interested and you're not engaging, then you have nothing.
exactly.
So you could be the biggest product subject matter expert in the world, but if you don't figure out a way to engage with the world and create relationships in some form or fashion, then you've got nothing. And so that was my sort of start into wealth management. And so the money management aspect I loved and I was great at, but I really had to manage relationships. I had to sell. I had to teach people and convince them to let me manage their life savings at 25, 26, 30 years old. And now I'm actually pretty well suited. I should be starting that business now because now
Yeah.
I've lived some life. I have some experience. I've made some mistakes. I know more about business. But it's funny how I had chosen. Most people start wealth management as a second career.
Later in life. Yeah.
I was very fortunate. I had a great mentor. I had a great work ethic, even though it was only 50% of what I deemed perfect. Luckily, being OCD and being a perfectionist means that if I can get 50% of the way there to my
Yeah.
goals, I'm doing pretty well. So,
And how do you tie in the detailing into that? Because when you left Merrill Lynch, you had already kind of started Obsessed Garage, but then that really, really took off. How does that, how do you tie in both worlds?
detailing in cars, and which eventually became the garage to me. I realized that I like the garage more than I like the darn car, and I like more than anything. Detailing happens in the garage. The car parks in the garage. The lighting goes in the garage. The speakers play music in the garage. The house to me is attached to the garage, right? And so, in early on, I think I discovered when I first moved to Florida, I'd gotten an S2000, a red S2000, Honda S2000, and my buddy introduced me to, I was using like the absorber, and chamois and
Yeah, yeah.
and Dawn and just washing, but really caring for my car, but rubbing on it too much, right? Rubbing the paint off the darn thing because I always wanted it clean. You see people making that mistake all the time where they go out in the garage and just wipe the thing down every time they drive it,
Yes.
which is counterintuitive. You want to keep it clean, but when you rub on it too much, then we all
It can be
know
detrimental. Yeah.
that creates more problems than it's worth. So I was, doing normal washing, loved my car, got into, was really into modifying, buying exhausts and wheels and suspension and all of that. That started when I first got the job in 99 selling home theater. And so now I'm in Florida. I have a red S2000. I'm working for Merrill Lynch. Actually, before Merrill Lynch is when I discovered a clay bar. My friend Vince, who's now a really significant detailer in Orlando. My friend Vince, my best friends bought me a car spa package with Vince. Vince was painting houses and detailing cars on the side. And so Vince was very meticulous. And so I said, here, take my car. But I asked him if I could do it with him, like watch him. And so all he did at the time was he deconned it mechanically by clay barring it. And I was just in marvel. He did the plastic baggy thing, he put the bag
Yes.
over your hand. So this is in 2002.
Yep.
So he clays it and then puts the baggie on it, and then he just puts some sort of mother's paste wax or something on the car. It was magical. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is awesome. That led me to go into the auto parts store aisle and stand there and look at all the stuff, right? And then that led to the Griot's Garage catalog. And so then my goal, so now I'm a financial advisor, I'm coming up, you're starting to make some money. And my goal was to buy every single thing in the Griot's Garage catalog. It's
So
probably like
that's how it
10,
started back then.
probably 10 or
Because you're still like that
12,000
today,
books.
buy one of everything.
Yeah, yeah. So, and that goes back to childhood of wanting one of the whole complete set of Matchbox cars, and then wanting every of the, the whole 89 Upper Deck set, and I'm going to organize. I didn't like how Upper Deck would organize the cards and, by number. And so I would create my own system of how the cards should go. And, that's just how I'm wired. You're very similar,
Yeah.
look at behind, the camera. So the detailing thing became a passion. I love the cars, but what I quickly realized is that I love cleaning the car more than I like the car, right? And so then I just started to get really successful. All those cold calls started to get successful. And so in 2000, 11, 12, 13, now I'm buying, you know, everything, not one of everything in the Griot's catalog. And what happened was in 2010, I got water spots on the hood of my E92 M3. It just destroyed me. Deep, brutal water spots, like, and hundreds of them all over the hood of the E92. And Griot's Garage has the four-step. They had polish one, two, three, four. And Richard Griot would teach you that start with four, then go to three, then go to two, then go to one, then go two, one, two, three, four, back up. So you go all the way down and all the way up. So you're polishing for days.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the polish wouldn't come off. And by the way, the polish didn't really work very well. And then combined with not knowing how to use a polish, I'm using a Porter cable or, Griot's Gen 1.
7424 XP. Yeah.
Right. And so that led me to say there's got to be a better way. And so then that's when I discovered, Detailer's Domain on the M3 forum. And now I'm going to buy everything that Phil has at Detailer's Domain. So I started buying everything there. And then that led to, different products and different companies. So by 2014, that's when the seminal moment happens in my life where I formally am diagnosed with obsessive compulsive disorder. I'd never had anything anxiety related enter into my life before. I was afraid of the doctor because I'd pass out when I go to the doctor or the dentist, but it was isolated to that. In 2014, I was standing in a store with my very young son, and I was pulled up Facebook, and one of my friends had stomach surgery, and the Black Death came over me, and I almost passed out in the store, and something clicked in my brain where it's like, holy crap, not only could I pass out in the store, but I could pass out anywhere. And so anxiety entered into my life. So by that point, I'm detailing crazy my own cars. I'm starting to actually get good at it, right? I'm
Yeah.
actually polishing. Rupes starts to enter into the equation, and Menzerna and some higher end stuff. And so I'm actually getting really good at polishing, really good at detailing, or at least better at it, really understanding professional grade. And then I went crazy. And so I had to find some help. And so this is the origin story of Obsessed Garage. And so, as you might imagine, I wasn't very nice. I was very arrogant. I was very, despite what people think, I'm actually really nice. And
I can
I
confirm.
know how I
We've
come
hung out
across, but
together
I'm
for a
actually,
amount of times.
I was super fit. I was rich, in most standards because I had this great job and I was making lots of money. And I had OCD, but I didn't know it. And I wouldn't let anybody in. I was all by myself in my garage, polishing my car. I'd acquired this massive body of knowledge because I'd bought and tried hundreds, if not thousands of things because I had a good job.
Yeah.
And I made a decent living so I could buy and try and throw stuff away or give stuff away. I was always getting new cars, so I was always playing with those. And so this seminal moment where I'm totally humbled that, hey, buddy, you're not all that is basically what, and I think God is coming down and telling me, bro, you're not as cool as you think you are. And so I needed to get some help. So I went from I'm the man. I wouldn't even let my assistant open an account because she wouldn't do it right. I would clean the house because my wife couldn't do it right. And I didn't know this was happening. I didn't know I was this way.
It was natural to you. Yeah.
It started to progress and get worse, as time went on. And then it just broke, just burst. And so that moment of me standing in the store, the Black Death comes over, anxiety enters into my life at that moment. Pandora's box is opened. I had to find a psychiatrist. I had to find a psychologist. because 6 months prior, that Matt would have said, "You're a loser. Why can't you just reason this out? This is
Yeah.
stupid. What is wrong with you?" And now I'm broken and humbled. And so I go to a psychiatrist. He puts me on some Prozac, which made me gain freaking 50 pounds. And now I don't even look the part anymore. So now I can't be arrogant because I'm a fat slob. And I can't drive and I can't function. And so I go and meet with this. Now I have to go meet with the psychologist. And the psychologist said, you should probably let some people in. You need to let some people in. You need to let your assistant help. You need to let your wife help. You need to start contributing. You need to start developing relationships. Because I knew I wasn't all that. I'm like, man, I mean, I'm not all that. I'm freaking broken. I'll do whatever you say. So he said, I think you should let some people in. So like every good engineer, I said, what's the most efficient way to meet the most amount of people possible? And so I
Mhm.
started two things roughly simultaneously, journaling on the car forums because I thought everybody sucked at journaling. And I thought, well, man, this could be an outlet. I could write and speak through my words. And my wife is a photographer, so I had a good camera I could use to take photos. And so I made a journal of the experience, the ownership experience of my cars, of every single thing I did. And so at some point through the journal, very early on, after maybe a month of me having gone crazy, I had made a post of how I wash my car, including the Krenzel and the quick disconnects and all that stuff. Somebody said, well, it'd be better if you made a video because I can't read all this. I don't have time for it. So I set the Canon 5D Mark II with no autofocus and no microphone, and I just started talking to it. Those are the videos that you saw that,
Yeah.
connected to me to so many people. And so rather than just go and meet my neighbor, like I think my therapist meant, I opened up Pandora's box of YouTube. And so that's how YouTube started was, and me getting into not the Obsessed Garage business, but it was Matt Moreman on YouTube. I had no preconceived notions. I had no plan. I wasn't doing it for anybody else. I was doing it as a way to connect, to get out of my own head, those thoughts.
Kind of
So
like a journal, but made in
right,
video format. Yeah.
right, with the world.
With the world. Yeah.
And
You're sharing this publicly. Yeah.
no idea, no preconceived notion. All I knew that maybe I could meet like a few hundred other Porsche guys. And so, that led me to then the discovery process of OGs that leads me to the next chapter.
So you started YouTube.
Mhm.
Now at this point, you're still working for Merrill Lynch though, right?
Correct. Yep.
And so you're doing this kind of sideline initially thing. You're not
Yep.
selling yet. You don't have the Obsessed Garage website. So how
Nope.
do you go from a wealth manager who has a crazy passion? Because the more we talk, the more I realize I've said this before, we have many similarities.
Mhm.
We're two different people, but our background, we're born almost the same. I think you're 1980, I'm 1981.
Yep.
Background in certain studies. And then we had this crazy passion for cars ever since we were a young kid. But then that led into detailing and we became more and more passionate and obsessed with that. And then, so your regular job at one point, you have to say, what made you say, okay, enough of this portion now, and let me focus on creating this obsessed garage? It eventually picked up to a point where today, correct me if I'm wrong, but last time we checked in on this, I think you were at 20 to 30 million in sales a year or in revenue, plus 30 to 40 employees. You have
Yep.
your own building now that you recently purchased. Congrats on that as well. So you have things now. The Obsessed Garage brand became bigger than life. So how does that get into motion where you say, you know what, this is going to be my life mission now?
I really wish I could say that I planned it. Right. I really wish I said, man, I sat down and in journal and drew this out, and this was what would
Yeah,
happen.
yeah.
So here's what happened. So, I go crazy and I start making videos. I get, 4 or 5 thousand subscribers or something like that. And like the first, 6 or 7 months, it took a lot longer than it did for you. Like you grew exponentially, really quickly. And so my process through 2000, so it was August 2014 when I started. And then through 2015, I think what happened in 2015, so maybe like a year in, I started to get some real pushback from people. They're telling me the videos are too long, which I didn't give a crap about. I said, I don't care a crap what you want. I'm doing this for me, not for you. Right? I'm doing this to connect with the few people that get it, that can skip around. Before Joe Rogan was a really big thing, I'd recognized that I like watching, like my favorite movie of all time, or one of my favorite movies of all time is Stephen King's The Stand. It was a mini series on TV and it was 6 hours long. And I just loved it. It was long, and I could choose, how to watch it. And so I love long format stuff. And so that's what I made. And this in 2014, you actually had to get special permission to make videos that were longer than 15 minutes, because they didn't have the cloud storage in order to store it all. So I had to get permission to do it. And so I'm getting pushback from people about how long the videos are, but I didn't care because I was doing this for a different purpose. The purpose was therapy, to connect with people, and
Yeah.
not everybody, but just a group of people that made sense to connect with. And then I started getting a lot of pushback on, dude, you're showing us all these products, but like, can you put the links in the description? Now I got
Hmm.
a job, right? And a family, the young kids, and I'm making like 4 or 5 videos a week. And like I don't have time to like
It
put
takes time, yeah.
all
Even
these
to put
stuff
links,
in
yeah.
the description. So just to stick it to them, I'm not kidding you, just to stick it to all the haters. They weren't really haters. They just wanted me to help them because I got all this obscure crap that wasn't easy to find.
Yeah.
And so I built a buddy from church made this logo first try. This sort of
That's the original.
this is the very original, no iterations. This logo, the Obsessed Garage logo. He was just a graphic designer at church, and he had set me up on WordPress because what I wanted to do, there were two things that were happening. People wanted links, and they wanted to know who the heck I was. Right? They
Hmm.
wanted to know who is this guy? How does
Yeah.
a
Why
detailer?
should I believe him? Yeah.
Right. Well, no, it was more of like, how the heck does a detailer have like $200,000 worth of cars? How is
Yes.
that possible?
Yeah.
They just couldn't figure it out. And so I made the This Is Me series, which I'm sure you saw back in the day. It was like 10 parts of me telling my story.
Yep.
This is me. And I wanted to have a bio page on the website so I could put that somewhere so I could just send people to that. Hey, go here if you want to figure out who I am. And then the other thing was I wanted to have a place where I could aggregate all the links because I didn't want to put them in the description. Now, it would have been a
Okay.
lot easier to just put them in the description of the
Yeah.
video. But I decided I'm going to make a website, not a retail site, because I didn't think there was any money in retail. I'm like, I don't want to do that. I just want to freaking manage people's money. And so I built obsessedgarage.com with Amazon links and links to all these obscure, weird websites. And that created more questions for people because half the time, all these crappy places you were trying to buy them from, like they didn't have it in stock or the link would go dead. And so I realized, man, it's really, really hard to buy this Krenzel pressure washer that I have. It's really hard to do it. So in 2016, the site was built, and I'm spending like hundreds of hours building this crap on the side. Still have a
Yeah.
job,
Yeah.
still have a family. I'm still washing cars, still I'm editing, making the videos, doing everything on my own. But I'm obsessed, so I didn't see it as odd. Like it's just this is what I do.
Yeah.
And so in 2016, I called what was my friend at the time, Phil from Detailer's Domain. I called him and said, "Look, man, he didn't know who I was. He became my friend because I was sending him all the links. I said, "Look, I think I'm on to something here. Could we do something like this? Kind of set up an affiliate. The affiliate wasn't a thing then. Could we become some sort of partners? And I send you all of my people, and we split it." And in my mind, 50-50 seemed to make sense. He's getting sales he wouldn't have otherwise had.
Yeah.
And so if you're making, 20% on something, I get 10, you get 10, and it's a win for everybody. And he said, Matt, there are no margins in this, but here's what we could do. He says, I can't split it. I can't survive. And I said, okay, I didn't know.
Yeah.
And so what we need to do is we'll set up these packages that you have a plan to set up. The Krenzel pressure washer package, the car washing package, the wheel cleaning package. I had this idea that people need to just have the one-click solution, and we'll put it on Amazon, and Amazon will pay you an affiliate link, and then I'll fulfill it. I'll get the rest. And so that was the end of 2016. And I just launched my t-shirts. And the first month I sold like $15,000 worth of t-shirts. I'm like, oh, this is pretty cool. And so I sold a bunch of t-shirts, and like the first month, I'm like, this is insane. A nice little side gig to my current gig. Maybe this will make my
Yeah.
car payments or something, right?
Yeah.
And so me and Phil was courting me at SEMA, and like 2 days later, my account for Amazon, because I tried to set up Amazon payments, and I must have clicked some button wrong, or put the wrong number in, and it created a fraud alert and shut
Oh
my
God.
20-year
Yeah.
Amazon account down. And
Yeah.
I said, I just told Phil after, I said, Phil, this is Amazon shut my account down. This isn't going to work. I'm just not interested. I'm going to do this on my own. I appreciate it, but I think I'm going to just try to do this a different way. And I thought at the time that if I put the Krenzel pressure washer up on obsessgarage.com, I thought, you know, it would show how smart I was, and maybe people would figure out that I'm in wealth management and they would hire me to manage their money. So I
Hmm.
thought me selling Krenzel pressure washers and Colinite 845 wax
Yes.
and Adams car shampoo, I thought that was the conduit to me, because Phil told me there's no money in this. So I'm not going to make any money over here, but this could be a marketing thing for me to be purely authentic, and because I got most of my clients from hosting wine tastings. I don't
Imagine that.
I
Yeah.
don't drink,
No.
and doing golf seminar lessons, and I don't play golf. And so that's how I got most of my clients. And my clients didn't really have anything in common with me. I
Yeah.
got a bunch of wine connoisseurs and a bunch of golfers. And here I am, the car guy. And so I had to pretend there was Merrill Lynch Matt, and then there was YouTube Matt. There was a
Yeah.
real Matt.
Yep.
And so I thought, man, this could be the conduit for me to be just real Matt. And then I could end up with a bunch of car guy. I could get Pan as a client. I could get, you know,
Yes.
I could get all my GT3 Porsche buddies as clients. I thought that that's what it would connect to. Never did I consider I'd sell tens of millions of dollars of stuff, right? And so I launch the videos for the Krenzel pressure washer package. I put all 13 videos at once. It was quarter-inch quick disconnect, Mosmatic gun, Ely inlet hose, just boring 3-minute videos. But I needed the videos for the website. So I
Yes.
just put them all up in one night, and I lost 5,000 subscribers right then
That's
and there.
usually what happens with that kind of stuff.
I'm
Yeah.
like, oh shoot, I freaking screwed this up. But I didn't really care about the subscribers. I had a deep connection with the 70,000 or so people that
With a
were
core audience. Yeah.
right. But then I woke up the next morning and I had like, dozens of emails in my inbox saying, hey, when that's ready, I'm in. Now, people didn't know it was $1,575 was the retail price of the package. And I thought, there's no way anybody's going to buy this crap. By the way, just prior to that, Krenzel told me no.
Of course.
Mosmatic told me no.
There's
Eaton
no way you would
told me
sell.
no.
Yeah.
MTM told me no, but then I called them again and MTM said yes. And then I used the MTM to get Mosmatic to say yes. And then I used Mosmatic to get Krensler to say yes. And I used Krensler to get Ely to say yes. And so I convinced them all, I set up like 15 pressure washer packages that by the way, the Mosmatic gun wasn't in the US. They didn't have a picture of it. No, I had the only one that I spent hundreds of dollars to import. And so they didn't even have it in stock. They weren't even in production. And so I got these 200 emails in my inbox. I launch a pre-order. I don't have any of the stuff, but I'm committed to it.
Yeah.
And so the very first night, that pre-order, sold like 40, I think the first month of January of 2017, I sold like $45,000 worth of pressure washers. Like, holy crap.
There's something there. Yeah.
But still, no, I didn't think there was anything there. I was just thinking,
Okay.
cool, I can buy a new titanium exhaust for my F80 M3
GT3.
stick.
Okay.
You know, maybe I can convince these people when they see how good it is that they should hire me in wealth management. But here's the trick. I couldn't tell anybody I was in wealth management because that wasn't you couldn't do that. You couldn't say that. And so just prior to that, I had left Merrill Lynch and had gone to Raymond James. And so the reason I went to Raymond James was so that I could set up Obsessed Wealth Management. They were going to allow me to do that.
Okay.
Still couldn't talk about it, but they were going to allow me to at least put a conduit between Obsessed Garage and Obsessed Wealth Management and put a link that then people could go figure out who I was.
Yes.
And so I had been building that up, and then the selling of the products was going to be my bridge. And I had a business coach at the time. That's a major component of my success is my business coach, Rick Corbin. I talked to him, Rick and Nancy. I talk about them all the time. I had retained him as a coach. I split up my partnership in wealth management. So 2016, go to Raymond James. I'm building out this whole idea first with Phil and then on my own. But the whole point of building obsessgarage.com was to connect me to people to be able to manage their money. And it was going to work too, by the way. I would have been one of the biggest financial advisors ever. It would have been awesome.
I can imagine.
So in 2018, early 2018, I made a bet with my now COO, Chris Haynes, who you've met. Chris is the really tall guy. He's on the podcast with me. He made a weight loss challenge bet with me, which I lost. And so he got to drive my Raptor and my GT350, and I had to drive his clapped out, Ford
Yeah.
Focus with an open
Yes.
header and no air conditioning for 2 weeks. And so while doing that, I made a vlog called 2 weeks. It was the first vlog I'd ever done, 2 weeks of a day in the life of the obsessed. And so I had introduced people. I showed them my office. I showed them my diplomas. I showed them my dual workstations. I had a
Mhm.
wealth management workstation and a Obsessed Garage workstation next to each other. And I'd made a few choice comments, just being real. I said, this office, look at what they're letting me do. It's really cool. Now it's super 90s, like the style is kind of old school, but look what they're letting me do. Well, that got to the CEO of Raymond James that he's saying our offices look like crap. I talked about I was having an OCD meltdown in the parking lot. I talked about panic disorder and OCD. They were questioning my sanity, like am I suicidal and stuff.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So what happened is that vlog, there were two fans of me in global headquarters who were in compliance. They went to their boss and said, "Hey, check out, this is one of our guys, Raymond James guy. We didn't know this. We've been watching him forever." Then the compliance guy goes, "Holy crap, who is this guy? How did they let him do this?" And so then I get called to global corporate headquarters. I walk in a room. There's 12 people around a boardroom, attorney, FINRA, the SEC, attorney, compliance officer, my manager, his manager, and they hand out a binder, and on the screen is my video paused
Oh my
and the
God.
whole transcript of everything I've ever said or done. And so a couple of months after that, they decided I was too much of a liability and they walked me out the door. And so that decision was made for me that Obsessed Garage was the thing, not Obsessed Wealth Management. And
Yeah.
there was a comment somewhere along the way when I sold the first few pressure washers. I said to my coach, I said, "What if I sold like 50 of these? That'd be sick. That'd be so cool. I could probably buy like a GT3, another GT3." And he said to me, he said, "What if you sold 5,000?" And I was like, "No way." This is just a way for me to get clients in wealth management.
Yes.
By the
Yeah.
way, wealth management is not scalable. You can only have so many clients. You
Uh-huh.
got to talk to them all. You got to handhold them through. Whereas I could sell an infinite amount of pressure washers, but I couldn't see that. Well, when they in March of 2018, when they called my character into question, that's what they were doing when they had brought me into this room. They were a bunch of 50-year-old white dudes who were kind of stuck in their ways of this is our business. You can't disrupt it. And I tried to explain to them, look, I'm onto something here. I'm going to
They
become
didn't understand that what you were doing.
well,
Yeah.
the money hadn't started coming yet because I was just building the case for
Exactly.
why somebody who cares this much about a pressure washer would also care that much about everything in his life.
Yep.
So I'm the guy, and I told you this many times. If I was still in it, you would want me managing your money. I'm the guy that people like us want managing your money because I'm a psychopath,
Yes.
hyper organized, hyper structured, and I'll fight you to the death on doing the right thing, and that's what you want your guy to do. But I wasn't passionate about that. I liked it. It was good. It was a good career. It was a good, solid choice. I had lots of
Yeah.
freedom, but I loved that freaking pressure washer. I loved
Yes.
Adam's car shampoo. I loved the Rupes LHR, whatever, LHR 15 version 1.
Passion is the biggest driver to success, I think.
I absolutely
Always.
loved it. But I didn't think you could make a choice or make a career of it. Phil told me there's no margins in this.
Yeah.
And so when I started retailing, because I didn't care about the retail, I said, look, in order for me for this to work, I'm not going to like one company and buying everything they have. So I have no negotiation power. My margins are going to be terrible because I'm going to be curating things and selecting things. And so in order for this to work, I'm going to have to ask the audience a couple of things. One, I'm going to have to ask you to pay for shipping because I'm not getting like 60, 70% margins to be able to eat that.
Yeah.
And the way that I thought about it, I said, well, if I shipped more, I'd have to hire more people. So when you start discounting things, you sell more stuff. When you start offering free shipping, you sell more stuff. But that means you need to hire more people. So I'm selling it at a discount. I'm selling it at free shipping, and then I've got to hire more people, which means the profitability goes to zero. That's what Phil was talking about, and he was right. He says if you try to compete with Auto Geek and you try to compete with Detailed Image, you try to compete with the big volume retailers, it just wasn't going to work. And we don't need another retailer. There's already great retailers. I don't need to be one of them. And so I decided I was going to do me in this curated thing. I'm only going to sell what I'm using. And so that process, and plus, again, it was just a conduit to wealth management.
Yes.
So I didn't need it. If I could just make a few bucks, that would be great. And I was shipping it out of my freaking living room. And then, of course, out of my parents' house. When it got a little bit too much for me, I had them take it on. They were in Pennsylvania. I was in Florida. And they were shipping out of my old bedroom, my sister's bedroom, and then their basement, and then their shed. And then it took over their whole house. And so the eventual epiphany was when I realized when they sat me down and called my character into question, because that's what they were doing. They were questioning my sanity and
Yeah.
calling my character into question. I started making spreadsheets. What if I did wealth management? What if I did wealth management and Obsessed Garage? What if I just did Obsessed Garage? And I made some conservative estimates that I blew out of the water. But they took the decision away from me and they fired me in June of 2018. I had already decided I was done anyway. So they took my clients, they took my practice that I had built on my own. And so then I went all in on Obsessed Garage. And so
So
that's the
you
story
had
of
funds,
how.
obviously, and you dumped that into expanding your business and growing it. Yeah.
Correct. So luckily, and I say this just between me, you, and the audience, I was making hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars as a career, and it went away
That
overnight.
can be stressful. Yeah. Yeah.
So they're attacking me. I'm already fragile with OCD and struggle with that.
Yeah.
Um, they questioned my character. They questioned my integrity. Um, they had me by the balls because I had this giant business, and there's more to the story of how non-competes and stuff like that. So they
Yeah.
had legally had me by the balls. So I had to just submit. I couldn't fight. I had to just take whatever they were going to give me. And I had actually sold my practice to somebody, and they denied it.
Wow.
So I had sold my practice to another. And when I decided, look, I'm going to go do Obsessed Garage, I found a buyer and they said no. And it's because they were going to come in and fire me and take it from me.
Yeah.
I hired an attorney and there was a battle back and forth. I eventually just settled and said, you know what? I don't want to fight this anymore. So I owed hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars. I also owed hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars in tax because of some of the deals that I had, with the when I left Raymond James, left Merrill Lynch, went to Raymond James, and so I was in a real tough spot.
Yeah.
And luckily, Obsessed Garage took off, and so the first year I was able to just scrape together enough to pay the tax that I owed and build inventory and paid payroll of 6 or 7 people. And then the next year, I was able to pay the tax just in time. And so the business struggle is part that people they miss, especially since my business, I get to buy some of the cars and the detailing stuff, all the stuff that I want. So it looks like I'm rich beyond belief.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the first several years were just trying to survive, just barely be able to make the tax payment, and having to pay it a little late with interest because I wasn't able to pay the quarterly estimated. So my first 3 years were just basically to pay the tax in arrears from the exit from wealth management. So, and I had just started to make it in wealth management, where I was really starting to get,
Hit
so
your
much.
stride and yeah.
Yeah, start to save money, and you've lived that. You're in your early 30s. Yeah, you might be making a decent living, but you don't really start to stockpile assets until you dig out of the university hole, and you dig out of the hole of your first house purchase and your first car purchase, and
Right.
stuff like that. And then you start to amass a little bit of money,
Yes.
and that little bit of money was not nothing in comparison to the taxes owed and stuff like that. So I tell you that, the audience, that because it was very contentious. It was very by the minute. It was very much a struggle, which is very outside of my comfort level as a risk taker. And so the exit from wealth management was not fun. Best thing
Hmm.
that could have ever happened to me, no
In
question.
retrospect, yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to burn that place down for the first couple of years. Now I totally get it. I don't want some punk coming into my company and telling me that I'm doing it wrong. And that's
Yeah.
what I was doing. So now that I'm a little bit, quite a bit more mature, I've learned a lot, I've been coached a lot, I've been in a lot of, psychotherapy to learn about who I am and what I'm about. I've been able to really look back and understand, where they're coming from.
But you see, this says a lot about your actual character, and your resiliency is something that could have crippled you and lose your job. All this debt to pay back, this budding business, but we're not sure, is it going to really
Right.
explode or not? And you said, you know what? I'm going to have to be all in, put the working hours, because it's easy for people if they were just watching your videos, all they would see is this guy that seems rich, he's driving a GT3, he had an Audi, he had a BMW E92, he had everything a person can imagine, but you
Yeah.
don't realize that there's real life struggles behind it. There's events that happen in life, twists and turns that life just throws at you that you're not expecting, or that you certainly don't wish upon yourself. And so these things happen. Now, what do you do? So there comes times where there is a lot of risk to take, but a lot of work and struggle to put in. And so Obsessed Garage doesn't happen with all this kind of going back into, this is what led me to this point in my life. What do I do with it? And certainly, how do I move forward and keep my head down and put the hard work in, improve, and of course, mature and gain life experience? There's
Right.
so much. You can't just build a 10 plus, 20 plus $1 million business from one day to another and everything comes easily and it's so simple and there's no risk and there's no pitfalls or there's no obstacles along the way, right? So that's one thing about your character, is the way you turn around and say, "Hey, I'm going to look into this. I'm going to dig deep and prove everybody wrong." And you did something I haven't seen yet in this space, is you were able to be different from all the suppliers and distributors or the
Well, I
normal
had to
channels
be.
that we'd see things, right? Yeah,
Right? You had to be different because, I mean, I'm going to lose. I'm going to
exactly.
lose and I'm going to lose also because it wasn't me. If I tried to do what other people have already done and are already doing, they're doing it better, they're doing a bigger scale, and I wouldn't be any good at it because I'd be trying to do them. And that's kind of, wealth manager. I was doing them, and I
Yeah.
figured out how to like make it and do okay. But imagine had that been like my life's mission, imagine
Oh,
had I started this from, from the get-go, from the beginning. Now I wouldn't have been able to because the confluence of events of being able to, have enough money to buy and try things. And
yeah.
if you'd started at 20 years old and, I look back and say, man, if I had just started a business, I wouldn't have known about managing money and finance, and I wouldn't have known about business, and I wouldn't have learned about a lot of the things that I now know that has that homologation of all the different, throw all these things in the primordial soup: OCD, normal natural tendencies, normal likes and desires and things that I like, trials and errors and failures and all these different things, the right time with YouTube and social media. Because if I had built this business in a local town somewhere, it would fail miserably because there's not a lot of people.
Yeah.
There's one person in each town, and that adds up to 1 million people or so, right? And so social media had to be a part of this in order to make it possible. And then, my meltdown and humbling and opening up to the possibility that, man, maybe life is better when you have other people in it, than you kind of ended up on an island by yourself because everybody else sucks. And it really wasn't, I didn't know that I was, I was this way. It was more of like, man, why does everybody have to be so dirty? Like, clean up. I'd rather just be alone because you guys are just a mess, and or just judging people because of my uncomfortability. People that drink, I'm always uncomfortable around them because I don't, and I just don't get it. And so rather than putting myself in their shoes and understanding who they are and what they're about, I would just avoid them altogether and say, look, I can't
Yeah,
go there. Instead of saying, hey, look, I don't drink. When you're drinking, I won't be here, but when you're not, I'm cool, kind of thing. Because you'd be afraid of saying those kind of things.
of
Or
course.
I'd always be afraid to tell you, hey, Pan, I'll come help you move, but I don't want you helping me move because you're not going to be very good at it. And so I learned how to say that in a joking way. Hey, Pan, look, if you need help, call me. I'm your guy. I really like doing that. I'm good at it, but I don't need you. We both know you're not as neat as me. So, just telling people like it is and owning who I was requires a humbling, and then doing that
Yeah.
through YouTube has opened up, to not everybody understands me. I'm sure a lot of people watching this don't understand me as a human, but I think that most people can relate in some form or fashion to some of the idiosyncrasies that they have.
Exactly.
Makes them different, that makes them special. And I think everybody has some component of that. And then me learning how to approach that has opened up the floodgates.
And you got to a point now where how many employees do you have at Obsessed Garage?
Well, I have, I think 31, but there are, something like 45 because I have some outside contractors and
Yeah.
coaches and stuff like that. So, it's roughly, a grouping of, 40 or 45 people or something like that. There's a 30 or so on the payroll. It's kind of hard to keep straight. Once you get to like 15, it's kind of hard to keep straight, because it really doesn't matter, but it's a lot of responsibility. And
Yeah.
my focus has changed from me to we, and learning how to become a leader, and
I
I'm
saw that evolution. Yeah.
yeah, and then learning how to, when you're a young man, you have a lot of bravado and you have a lot of arrogance around what you think you know. And then as you
Uh-huh.
make the transition to an older man, you actually do know something. And then eventually you start to garner some imposter syndrome. Like, man, I do know some stuff, but I'm not really sure. So you kind of lose that bravado, that natural, leap off a building without fear,
Yes.
to now I'm in this transition of now I'm like Jim Heaton, I'm like my mentor, and so understanding the position that you're in, I can't. I'm sure you've noticed this. I don't say things as quite as flippantly as I used to. I
That's
do
true. Yeah.
still because that's
Yeah.
who I am, and that's
Yeah.
that's my personality. But understanding my position is very different, and then learning how to be purely authentic but appropriately authentic.
Hmm.
'Cause there's a difficult line there as you're learning, as you're making this transition from a young man to older man. You learn how to approach relationship, how to approach negotiation, how to approach leadership. And I've spent, one of the things that I've been so blessed with in life is being coachable, and be willing to listen. Like I just did a podcast with you where I had you go through my life's work and tell me where I'm
Uh-huh.
wrong, and be willing to do that is so important to become a great leader.
I
um,
agree.
and I think that that's really really important for anybody in whatever aspect or whatever stage of life you're in. And if you are coachable, then Jim Heaton, Rick Corbin, I've had all these great mentors come into my life, and be willing to allow them to say when you're screwing up. Shoot, I just got a call from my coach the other day saying, hey, did you say this? Forget what it was, but it was something like, I don't know. And I said, yeah, I didn't even think about it. And they said, well, you need to be thinking about what you're saying because what you said did this, this, and that.
Has an impact. Yeah.
Understand where you're at in position of where you are today. If you want to go to that next level, you have to understand, and some of the things you're blind to need to become apparent.
And another thing I saw in your evolution as well, following you from like a decade ago in 2014 up to now is, and I think Elon Musk said this the best. A lot of people say, "Oh, you're a genius, you're a genius." He says, "Yeah, but you know what? My brand, I'm one thing, but on my own, I could never have done all this. I like to surround myself with even some people I believe who are more intelligent than I am in their specific field. So, although Obsessed Garage would never exist without you, you have the vision. You're going to steer people in the right direction. You need everybody else around you as well to uplift the company and to take it to that next level, going from your shipping out of your mom and dad's place out in Pennsylvania to a point today where you have dozens and dozens of employees and you're generating this crazy revenue because you can't spread yourself thin. You have to entrust people, which is hard to do as well. So you have to delegate, you have to be there to steer them in the right direction, be the leader that you can, but understanding that you do need help in creating this bigger vision for Obsessed Garage. Because I've seen you evolve, right? Initially, it used to be only very specific car detailing stuff, but now you're evolving into home stuff as well. You did Adam LZ project, so his entire home you renovated. That was a first. Correct me if I'm wrong, but you went from just garages to now homes as well. So there seems to be this evolution in OG. And if you have all these employees working for you and working with you, it can allow you to think of what future steps do I have for Obsessed Garage, right?
Yep.
What's
Yeah.
your vision, by the way, for that? Like I saw that evolution, but is it something that you're now looking into? How do we evolve Obsessed Garage beyond just the garage?
So to me, and this is confusing for, for some people, is that, I'm the detailer, right? I'm a detailer.
Yeah.
Well, I was never a detailer. And
No.
in fact, I've never admitted to being a detailer. I love detailing. It's a large percentage of the portion of my obsession. And when you're obsessed, the level that you take things is different than the average person. And for the average person, that's not very relatable. Most of the people watching us can understand it. If they
Yep.
if they can't if they can't relate to it, they can at least appreciate it, right? They appreciate it for that obsession for what it is.
Correct.
And so my life is obsessed. Not just my garage, not just my detail spray, user experience. My life is obsessed. And so I recognize this. I moved 3 times in the last 3 years from house to house, which I really like doing, by the way. I find it fun. I enjoy, people dread moving because they got a bunch of crap.
Yeah.
I could literally, if we sat down right now, let's say you were my insurance agent. No, no, I'm not pumping myself up here, by the way, because this is has a yin and yang to it. And you could probably do this too. I could take you from memory in my brain,
Room to
every
room.
room, every drawer, everything I own. I could take you through where it is, what quantity, where I bought it from
What's the
off
price?
memory. You could create a spreadsheet. I have a photographic memory when it comes to this of
Yeah.
all the things that I have and where I have it. Now, it
And
doesn't
you'd probably get it like 90, 95% right, just out of pure
Yeah,
memory.
yeah,
I'm the
correct.
same.
I
Yeah.
might get like some of my daughter's room stuff
Yeah.
wrong, but anything that is important, like I know what
Significant.
spatulas I have, I know how many kitchen towels I have, I know what pots and pans and mixers and socks. I could probably pinpoint. I might get the number of socks I have off, but I could narrow and nail all that stuff down. And so that obsession. And by the way, each one of those things has been countless hours of my favorite thing to do, which is at 7 p.m. I sit down on my couch, I have my MacBook Pro on my lap, I'm watching something on TV, and I'm doing 3 things at once. I'm listening to a podcast, I'm watching something on Netflix, and I'm shopping for research for something, building spreadsheets of things, of car washing packages or whatever's interesting to me at the
Yeah.
moment. Right now, my master collection is what's of interest to me at the moment. And so the realization that thing, that photographic memory of things, that, shopping for stuff. When I was younger, I was so ashamed of it. It's like this materialistic, all I
Uh-huh.
care about are objects. When through this time and through me connecting and having all these employees that are my family, having friendships like yours and many others that I otherwise wouldn't have had, the realization, the epiphany is that this thing that I'm good at is what connects me to people, relationship, humans,
Exactly.
and
Exactly.
provides value, right? And so if I can figure out a way to bottle up that value, which is Obsessed Garage, which is Destination Obsessed Garage, which, enters into the home, with the realization that when I walk into my garage, I build my house around the garage. The garage is the anchor. Whenever I design a house and I build my own house from scratch, the garage is going to be right smack in the middle and everything else gets built around it. To me, the house is attached to the garage, right?
Yep.
And I don't get to check all of that thing I bottled up, all that magic in a bottle. I don't get to just take it out of my pocket, put it in the drawer of the garage, close the drawer, and walk into the house. it enters in there with me.
Uh-huh.
It enters into the home theater. It enters into the kitchen sink. It enters into the faucet. It enters into the lighting. It enters into what towels I'm using, after I shower. It's entering into the shower,
Electrical panels, everything you do. Yeah.
right? The jeans I'm wearing, the shoes I have, but some of it I haven't gotten to yet,
Yeah.
right? And so obsessed life is the vision for what I have, and I don't think I have to alienate any one audience. Detailing is 20% of my obsession. 20% of obsessed person's obsession, 20% of an obsessed person's life is like 400% of a person who is much better suited to live life. You know what I'm
Uh-huh.
saying?
Yeah.
And so the big epiphany was the realization that that doesn't make me better. It actually makes me much worse. It makes me flawed, and that humbling happens over and over again for me. And that humbling is what allowed me to open myself up to the world and take that thing that I have, that small percentage of thing that I have that's different, put it in a bottle, put a bow tie on it, and put it up on a website and teach people how to experience it. And then I can provide value to the world rather than just materialism. Does that make sense? I mean,
That
it's
makes total
a bit
sense. And it resonates.
existential for something so simple, but it's what I figured out, and trying to figure out who I am and what I'm about.
And you hit on one point that I share the same sentiment on is before you used to be shy of having that obsession or that passion. And if I look at, I have many passions in my life, home theater as well, electronics, sneakers, luxury watches, you name it. So there's a lot of things that growing up younger, I too was saying, you know what, these seem to be materialistic. My dad certainly was an immigrant from Greece, came with nothing in his pockets, built a business for himself, working hard, and he tried to teach me to be simple. He is very simple, but I am a simple person. However, I like to work hard to get the stuff I actually want that I'm passionate about. And what these audiences allow you is anything that people were laughing at you before. Example, detailing. I remember all my neighbors growing up. Why are you wasting so much time washing cars? My dad used to say, we spent all this money on your education. Why are you wasting your time washing these vehicles outside instead of reading books or things like that? And so as I grew older and I connected with these audiences now, and my channel is certainly an example of that, now all of a sudden it's so amazing, right? Yeah, but go back in time where you used to laugh at me saying, well, why are you wasting your time detailing your car? Well, when you connect with the people who share that same passion with you, it has so much power to it, because now all of a sudden you create a safe haven for this community to be able to exchange with you on the same exact things that you're passionate about and that you like. And usually that translates into more than just detailing. And you're the same thing too. We notice that our audiences technically, usually, if you like cars, you'll like other things as well. You'll be passionate about either electronics or home theater stuff, hi-fi equipment, sneakers, watches, whatever it may be. It's usually not just detailing. So
Yeah.
we like cars. We're passionate about cars as well. So by having these YouTube channels, we're allowed all of a sudden to share the passions and connect with people that say, you know what, I can relate to Matt. I can
Mhm.
relate to Pan. And you know what? It is cool that I like detailing all of a sudden. I'm not that only guy on my street anymore. I'm part of an audience of 600,000 people, a million subscribers that are there who have that same passion, that can talk about detailing from morning to night. And it's not a chore. It's something they really, really like. And yeah, that's one thing that really opened my eyes. This YouTube thing started 8 years ago. For you, it's been almost a decade now. And look at what we've achieved and amassed to is just having this, I think, amount of people just supporting us through what we do and telling, you know what, I hear you, and I share the same passion that you do for all this cool stuff. And that's a chance in a lifetime to be able to do this. So yeah, I totally understand. It fully resonates. Hopefully the audience resonated as well. I don't know if you have anything else you want to add as far as where can we expect, because now you have your own building that you just bought as well. So you moved out of the yarn building. And what
Yeah.
is the, let's say, short term, 2 to 3 next years?
Mhm.
What is your vision for Obsessed Garage? Where are you going with this?
So, what I'm working on, behind the scenes is building out, and this will affect your audience. You and I have been talking about some really cool things we're going to launch together in the future. Is building out an international distribution network. So to have a distribution facility in Canada, Australia, the UK, the EU, possibly the Middle East, possibly also the West Coast to make things get things to people quicker. When I build out that international distribution model, that will give me the ability to garner some exclusivity. So I have a lot of ideas in my head that I've been holding off on because I don't have the ability to purchase enough of them for them to make what I need them to make, and to like totally change the design of the Krenzel pressure washer. But if I go to them with a network of, hey, I've got a bunch of wholesalers and retailers throughout the world, I can promise you I'm going to buy 1,000 of these a month or something like that, then they can invest in producing that, manufacturing that. So what I'm working diligently on is building that international distribution network that will also allow me to do some of the things like what you and I talked about. In the future, we'll be sharing with the audience in the future.
Not quite yet. Yep.
The
This is tight secret.
that's a big thing that I'm working on. I'm also working on, in order to complete the distribution chain. I have the online e-commerce thing in the US, North America, pretty well licked, adding the international component, but also adding the local component. So I'm in the largest retirement community in the world. And because I did purchase a building, to this point, I always thought I would pack up and move the business somewhere.
Uh-huh.
And so I didn't invest in the community. And so investing in the community means, providing a resource to the community and then, being a contributing member of society. I was always renting, leasing. So now I'm paying big property tax bill. I'm bringing in employees from all over the world to stimulate the local economy. And so I'm going to build a destination obsessed garage type showroom, not a retail brick and mortar store, but a design center. And so imagine this, man, you would love to see this. So two doors right next to each other. One you walk in is Destination OG. You walk in, it has Waterstone faucet, Havens metal sink. It has DMF lighting and Lutron lighting control. It has, Dyne audio speakers and all the other interesting things that I find that are interesting in the house.
Yeah.
Closet system, stuff like that. Outdoor kitchens, things that I'm really interested in, I feel like are underserved. And the other door you walk in is Obsessed Garage, and you walk into Swiss Tracks flooring and Russo cabinets and Cree lighting and just all the Krenzel pressure washer system. And you can sit with the designer and have them design all the stuff. And we'll build an install team where we get to learn, how things work and learn how to, continue to develop stuff. And so I'm doing that locally with likely a friend of mine who is connected, really, connected to the community. And from there, that will get me, charter school eligibility for my employees and as they grow up and have kids, and it give me a recruiting tool. So once I build the distribution network, then we'll be able to continue to develop and make products that don't exist. Because I feel like
Yeah. Yeah.
I've reached the pinnacle of what exists in
Yes.
finding, products to all over the sort of the pro world. And I've made some mistakes along the way because, again, I didn't know what this would do. So, I should have negotiated with the Krenzlas and the Mosmatics of the world for exclusivity, because I made it accidentally go sort of pseudo viral in our
Viral. Yeah.
space. And then I got to sell one of every 20 that they sold, even though I was probably responsible for 18 of those 20 in some form or fashion. In the
Absolutely.
future, if I have, and I couldn't promise them because I didn't know.
Hmm.
So had I said to Mosmatic, let me sell all these guns and I'll sell them to all the retailers. So that's
Yes.
my long-term vision, is to build out a distribution network with wholesale retail distribution, with Obsessed Garage as the flagship marketer. And then I'm also building a mastermind, which I haven't approached you yet, but I'm sure you'll want to join it, a mastermind of influencers. So I'm going to put together a group of affiliates and influencers where we get together and talk about this kind of stuff, life and business, bring in coaches, bring in people from all over the world, and then we'll take together as a group, let's say the new Built Hammer touchless, we bring it in, we all talk about it, we all launch our videos at the same time, so we all get the collaboration component of that. So I'm going to build out that affiliate network and help young creators get paid for what they're responsible for.
Love that. That's a
So
lot of future innovation. You can tell the hamster never stops rolling in there. That's awesome.
yeah, and I have a great team that's helping me execute on that, and I'm
Yeah.
learning how to lead that, not do
Yes.
it, but lead it. And that's my big focus in the future, and the vision I have for Obsessed Garage in the future. Destination Obsessed Garage. I own shoot, I've got like 12 different companies. No, Obsessed Engineering. I have Destination Obsessed Garage, which of course is the
Yep.
borrow my house for money, which you came and visited that concept. I've got that concept, and then several others, internationally. But the key to me is that I live one existence. I make one video, and it takes care of all these different things. All these different countries, all these different product areas. It ingratiates me to the audience by me sharing obsessed life, and so that's the vision for the future of the thing, that affords me the ability to remodel a house and put all the cool stuff in it, or paint correct my E36M3, or talk
Yeah.
to you about the best detail spray,
Yeah.
and so that's my life, and that's what I'm sharing here.
In closing thoughts, is there, if you had a takeaway, so somebody, let's say, who's in their late teens, early 20s, trying
Mhm.
to figure out life, now he's seeing the closer to end result for you because we're in our 40s now. Is there anything you'd turn around and the 40-year-old Matt would tell the 20-year-old Matt that, like, for example, my dad told me, work hard in life and you'll never have issues. There's
Mhm.
other people who's going to say, follow your passion and you're going to have great success. Is there anything that you would tell your 20-year-old self and a kind of a takeaway moment that would be in their heads forever and remember that as a key turning point in their life?
So I would say this. I would say you follow your opportunity and you develop your passion. Chances are you're not fortunate enough to know what your passion is yet, and that passion may change. So follow opportunity. And then I like your dad's mantra of, when that opportunity arises, you work hard, no matter if you like that or not. When I was a janitor, cleaning toilets, when I was in my teens, I was the best freaking janitor I could be.
There you
I
go.
wanted to make sure the bathroom was the cleanest. I wanted to make sure I used the products in the most efficient way. I wanted to make sure that I took care of my employer. And then my thought process was then they would take care of me. And if for some reason I was getting screwed, eventually it comes back around to benefit me if I just work hard. But I'm following the opportunity, not micromanaging it. So I got an engineering degree, but I didn't become an engineer. I followed the opportunity into home theater sales. I followed that opportunity into wealth management. I followed that opportunity by developing my passion. I side hustled my passion into what became Obsessed Garage. And by the way, that whole, I'm working 100 hours a week. In the beginning, 20 hours on my job and
Yeah.
80 hours on Obsessed Garage. That 80 hours felt like 8 minutes. Um,
Yes.
so I side hustled my way into my passion. So I follow the opportunities that present themselves in my life. I maximize those, and I develop my passion. And then maybe at some point, if you're fortunate, this is like equivalent to winning the lottery. I don't think everybody gets the opportunity to chase their passion. You
No.
might not have the talent needed. You might not have had the experience needed. It might not be the right time. It may never happen for you.
Yeah.
And so you need to keep that in mind. And so you can always fall back on following the opportunity and maximizing that, and then develop the passion. And then chances are, I think your chances go from 0 to maybe 25%. And if I told you have 25% to win the lottery, I think you'd play. You'd put a few
Yeah.
bucks down.
Yes.
And so I don't want to be unrealistic with people to say, hey, everybody can just chase passion forever, especially when you're young. But you will have opportunities if you work hard and you give everything. And so you then could have the potential to side hustle your way into it. Pan and I both are very similar in the conservative aspect of this, in that I don't think I mean, how long did it take you to quit your job? You didn't need that job. That
Yeah.
job was peanuts in comparison to what you were making in your side hustle, right? So you
Yes.
hung on, hung on, hung on, hung on, working yourself to death, right? And so, if I could, urge anybody, same thing. I wouldn't have quit wealth management. I would have hung on to the end, but they took it away from me. And so it became to you is just so glaringly clear. And so I tend to recommend to young men, young women, to do that,
Hmm.
follow that opportunity. And then if the opportunity was so egregious, like there's no question, the job is such an inconvenience to
Uh-huh.
to the fruit of the side hustle.
Yeah.
Um, that's may not be the best way to do it, because I have many young friends that are just Adam LZ was talented from the beginning and never had to do the follow the opportunity. He just went right for the passion. But
Yeah.
that is very rare. And
Yep.
so I want to set, realistic expectations. I don't think that could happen for me. I don't know about you, but probably couldn't happen for you without the culmination of the life experience to get.
Exactly. Yeah, I always say this is a culmination of a lifetime of good decisions, hard work, and all this stuff that got me to this point. You don't wake up at 20 and have all of it. It's very rare. Not everybody can be a Jake Paul there.
I don't know about you, but despite my disgruntled of them attacking my character and everything, I gave my all to every employer I've ever had.
Absolutely.
I
More than
gave
life.
my all to the post office for the United States, even though I knew it wasn't going anywhere for me. I wanted to be the best casual carrier I could be for that year that I had that I
Yep.
worked there.
Yep.
When I was at Walmart pushing carts, I wanted to be the best, most efficient, fastest cart pusher, in the country. And I wanted to be, and I used it as a fitness. I used it to benefit myself and get fit, and train for volleyball. I'd be doing, plyometric drills in the parking lot in between carts coming out. But I wanted to be the best cart pusher I could get, even though I knew that I probably wasn't going to get anything for that in
Yeah.
the short term, but in the
Yeah.
long term, it taught me valuable lessons. And then, who knows, maybe the opportunity came for me where they made me a store manager at Walmart or something like that.
Correct.
It could have led me down a different path. But if you didn't put in the work, then it certainly isn't going to happen for you. If you're just disgruntled, how about when they pay me, then I'll do it.
Exactly.
If
And
you
not only that,
head
but
down that path.
I would even add, and that's another, like my dad didn't have a lot of education as far as school is concerned, but a lot of, because he started working at 12, his dad died at a young age. He had to provide for his mom and his family. And so he became an electrician, wiring homes at like 12 years old. He worked like 48 years in the business, did well. But he reminded me that even when you have a job, when you leave that job, keep the doors open. Don't shut them in the sense that don't think you're better than everybody else and screw you guys and I'm leaving. Keep open doors and keep those contacts. You never know in life where they will lead you. And it's good to know the reputation you've built. I can turn around, call any of my past employers and have them speak to or give a testament to the hardworking person that I was and say, yeah, Pan gave it 200%. Like, regardless, even when I was a young teen at 16 working in burger joints, I wanted to be the best at what I was doing. I wanted to keep the place super spotless and clean. And my managers were seeing that in me. But that started building my character and building the person that I was. And today, there's a lot of it that comes from how I was as a young child, working hard and having these bigger dreams. But that DNA kind of thing was always with me throughout my life. And it just became bigger and bigger. And I had bigger dreams and bigger endeavors. But the ethos or the core of who I am has always been the same, like being kind to people, hardworking, humble, and trying to just do better for myself. And certainly my dad was hoping that his kids would do better than him. And his dream was to see us like do better in life. And I think that was achieved. And that's what I want for the future generations as well. And now we're to a point where we can give this advice. And that's one point I wanted to have this conversation with you is sometimes it's not just about the story. So it's certainly not just about the Obsessed Garage story. It's the person behind it and inspire others through that story who can maybe relate to portions of it, not necessarily all of it, but say, you know what? That's the last kick I needed to make. Like, it's my discussion with you years ago that confirmed to me, you know what? I should be doing YouTube 100% of the time now and focus on, because it is doing well. No, it's not going to collapse tomorrow. No, it's not going to disappear. What is that irrational fear that I had? Well, that comes from my family who always told me you have to work hard and keep that steady job. It's a high paying job. You have to do your Monday to Friday like everybody else. Don't have these big dreams. But I'm wired differently. I wanted more for myself. I wanted to pursue my passion. And you made me realize at one point, and it's talking and letting other people's in your life and kind of giving you this advice of saying, you know what, what's the worst that can happen? You already have a solid base of subscribers. They're there to support you. They've been with you from the beginning, and just give more time to it.
Mm.
And that was the best decision I ever made. Like, the channel now, we're to a point where we're almost at 1 million subscribers.
Yeah.
And so I'm happier than ever. I do what I want when I want, and I can give more. So it's actually not working less. I'm working more than I ever worked before. But like you say, it feels like you're
Funny how
not
that
working because you're
happens.
exactly.
Yeah.
Those who said, "Oh, it's fun. You're going to have like less because you used to do both before your job and
Mm.
YouTube." No, no. Now I work way harder than I ever did before, but it is fun to do it. Now I'm following my
Mm.
passion, and it's completely different.
Yeah.
So Matt, thanks for being there, guys. If you haven't seen his channel, please go and support it. Obsessed Garage. I'll leave it linked
Thanks.
in the description. I'm looking forward to not only seeing you again in person. We meet often, but what OG is going to do next. And yeah, thanks for being here, Matt. Thanks for this chat. We'll have more in the future as well. And guys, yeah, don't ever forget, keep it tight, keep it clean, and I'll see you on the next one.